Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan on K+. It is Wednesday, March 13th. The retirement age for women is still set to increase to 63 years, but gradually over the next 10 years, starting in 2014. The announcement was made on Tuesday in the lower house of parliament by the Minister of Labor and Social Security, Kazakhstan. His math is as follows.
The retirement age of women in Kazakhstan, currently set at 58, will be raised by 6 months every year until it reaches 63 years benchmark. The necessary amendments have been already added to the legislation. According to the minister, this is a good decision since the average amount of pension payments for women is 25% lower than that of men due to the gap in salaries and overall work experience calculated. The latter is usually shorter for women because of early retirement and maternity leaves. In addition, the ministry also took into account female life expectancy. It is noteworthy that Kazakhstan, in his early days of chairing the Labor Ministry, said that raising retirement age for women. It is noteworthy that Kazakhstan, in his early days of chairing the Labor Ministry, said that raising retirement age for women is an unnecessary measure. To be fair, he also never said he wouldn't do it. Additionally, if we take into account female life expectancy, which is significantly longer than that of men, the possibility of adequate pension provision under current conditions is unlikely. Therefore, it was proposed to level off the retirement age of women.
The increase of women's retirement age and the reduction of maternity benefits will now be fought institutionally on the basis of two confederations, free trade and labor unions, created in a single professional center. Trade unionists have signed a memorandum during the roundtable in Almaty in the presence of our reporters, who we turn to for more details.
A new center to fight for the rights of female workers was established by a joint effort of labor activists. In particular, the center intends to tackle an issues on maternity benefits reduction, whereby the government will pay only $5,000 for women who earn more than $1,200. An employer will have to pay the other half. Our joint campaign against the reduction of maternity benefits will just give an opportunity for further development and cooperation, both to represent and protect the interests of our female employees. Meanwhile, the roundtable participants said that huge maternity benefits could bankrupt the state social insurance fund. A pregnant woman is alleged to be an a priori offender who would cause default due to high rates of maternity benefits the government has to pay for her. But these very benefits are derived from the money we all pay as a social security tax, hoping that there is a competent structure in our country which can distribute it wisely. Meanwhile, the chairman of Kazakhstan Crisis Center Union, Zulfiya Baysakova, decided to ask the presidential advisor for an appointment rather than waste time waiting for the government's favor. We're going to ask the presidential advisor, Ms. Abdukalikova, for an appointment. I think that she's not likely to be totally aware of the current social situation in Kazakhstan, but as the head of the institution, she must understand and raise issues concerning birth rates, the rights of women in general, and of course family policy development. Deputy head of the Labor and Social Security Department, Gulsara Altanbekova, is an avid supporter of the amendments to the law on social security. She says that as before, all pregnant women will receive one-time payment for a childbirth from the budget fund, and social benefits for childcare will make up 40% of a monthly salary. The official thinks that every newborn should receive a fixed amount of maternity benefits regardless of parents' paying capacity. The government should establish a national maternity support fund. Thus, every newborn will get a fixed amount of money from the fund regardless of a mother's social status and employment record. The female activists of the movement against the reduction of maternity benefits have already written an open letter to the president of Kazakhstan with the request to cancel the amendments to the law on social security. So far, government's reaction to the activist campaign have been mild, and the women are preparing for another rally scheduled for the coming Saturday.
The environmental activist Nurlan Utiuliyev's murderer was allegedly found. It is believed to be the victim's cousin Dmitry Zhabin. His videotaped confession to the police was immediately distributed to the media. Police say the crime was committed for purely economic reasons. Allegedly, the suspect owed him money. But one little confession has yet to prove that it was Dmitry that shot his cousin.
I've come to my cousin's house with the intent of killing him. We had a disagreement in the past. I came to the porch and shot him 2 times with a shotgun. On Tuesday, the police was happy to share details of their investigation into the murder of an environment protection activist Nurlan Utiuliyev. The press was given the video of a confession which alleges the motive for the tragedy was the money. Nurlan loaned a certain sum to his cousin Dmitry Zhabin to launch his business. The venue took off, but Dmitry was not in a hurry to return the money. Now he's a prime suspect in the case, and the version of a murder due to Utiuliyev's environmental efforts in saving a local resort is dropped. The murder is in no way linked to his professional activity or beliefs. It had strictly a domestic dispute motives. The family doesn't believe the results of the investigation, saying that Nurlan and Dmitry were friends. This is simply impossible. Dmitry grew up here together with Nurlan. Nurlan always took care of him. Another family member says that at the time of the crime, the suspect was at a birthday party together with his family. At the same time, the victim received numerous threats from police officers. He personally told me that a couple of officers visited him in the evening and threatened to kill him unless he ceases his activity. Utiuliyev's associates also insist that Nurlan became a victim of the environmental battle. Finding a killer in just 2 days also looks quite suspicious. This is obviously a thin case, since everything here is linked to the possible public outcry. It's in their interest to close the case as fast as possible. They are ready to frame anyone just to silence the noise. Nurlan's body is yet to be buried, while almost no one in the family knows for sure where it actually is. In the meantime, the investigation now has the task of proving they got the right suspect.
The administrative resource meets the opposition's referendum, so far in the form of preventive talks and persuasion on the ground with activists, said members of the initiative group on Tuesday. They also received reports of threats to delegates from Uralsk, Aktau, Zhanaozen, and Almaty regions. But organizers are still planning to carry on with their work. Which issues will the government's opponents put on the table at a national referendum? Up next.
Local authorities put referendum delegates under pressure, said initiators of the popular vote. The meeting is scheduled on March 16th, and 8 delegates have already refused from going to Almaty. Activists and their relatives are under pressure in Aktau. A court-martial, Utimuratov, threatened the son and relatives of our activist Ulash Ongarova. She said drugs would be planted on them, others will be fired from their jobs. Organizers, however, are not going to give up. They're expecting around 50 delegates from the regions. Each delegation will include 35 people from various party fractions and public activists. We're weighing our risks and realize that the pressure in the regions is aimed at disrupting the convention. However, we passed the point of no return, and convention will be held anyway. 4 questions are expected to be put to a referendum: election of heads of administrations, construction of an atomic power station in Aktau, secession of Kazakhstan from customs union, and common economic space, as well as returning city-forming enterprises into state ownership. We've sent an official letter according to legislation addressed to Mr. Yesimov, head of Almaty city administration. We've informed him in a proper manner that the convention would be held and the date had been scheduled. We also sent a letter to Central Election Committee addressed to Mr. Turgankulov with a proposal to send a representative for monitoring the convention. Jarmakhan Toyakbay, co-chairman of NSDP Azad, is among organizers. Bulat Abilov party's co-chairman and other presidium members have not been invited to NSDP party congress of March 20th. As for financing the public vote, the millionaire Bulat Abilov assured that the billionaire Mukhtar Ablazov has nothing to do with it. Jarmakhan Toyakbay is not involved in the preparation, nor he is in the organization committee. Mr. Ablazov is not there either. As for financing, we're resolving this on our own. The idea of a referendum has been criticized in the capital. Vladislav Kosarev, MP, has gone through parliamentary elections and believes there is no need for Kazakhstan citizens to vote again. I think this is unreasonable and requires a lot of preparation. We're only thinking about it. The referendum will require a lot of funds, the same as elections. If there is a quorum and Central Election Committee recognizes the convention as legitimate, as initiators hope, the next step will be collection of at least 200,000 signatures.
On Tuesday, national communists left their parliamentary seats and decided to rally against rising utility rates. The sanctioned protest on the outskirts of the capital was so positive that the members of other parties stated the government itself may be behind the rally, and the communists stepped outside to hold the usual self-promotion campaign. More on the communal protest with tea and music in our colleagues' material from the capital city.
Astana Selo, the Communist Party, welcomes everyone to take part in the sanctioned rally. The gathering is accompanied by popular music, samovars, and plenty of red symbolism. The communists brought about 50 members to the sanctioned rally against rising utility rates. While the young party members distribute flyers, their senior comrades are speaking to the press. Of course, I believe this rally will be effective. Even the fact that so many of you have gathered here helps already. You will show everyone that communists protest against rising prices. It is an issue for the entire country. We want capital residents' welfare to correspond to the development pace of the city and country in general. During the event, rally participants signed a resolution containing a few complaints to the authorities, but comparing to other similar pickets, the action was rather tame. No one asked for resignation of cabinet members or chanted anti-government slogans. Protesters have mainly demanded the anti-monopoly agency to impose a moratorium on utility rates increases, at least for the next 2 years. Social Democrats who observed the rally from the side made their own conclusions regarding the matter. This party is actively exploiting the opportunities given by the authorities. Their placement in the parliament. They have access to the state budget as a parliament fraction, and therefore it is actively taking advantage of the situation. The party just indulges in promoting itself, trying to set up a positive image. Half an hour later, junior party members were given a sign and quickly collected their stuff ready to leave, while their leaders asked assistants to draft a report about the event that should be filed to undisclosed individuals.
The Almaty City Committee of the Communist Party also went to rally on Tuesday. The few party leaders urged people to unite and go on a protest against increases in utility rates. Though, truth be told, the subject matter drew only the elderly, and even then not for long. We turn to the next story for more.
I've got utility bills worth over $100 last month. Senior couple of Jailbayevs spend around $130 each month on utility bills, while Danyar's pension is just $230. Outraged with the situation, the man decided to join communists at their rally on Tuesday, as he no longer understands who can help the elderly in their own country. Vast majority of tenants said they're against the utility rates increase. We've even met a woman who hasn't had meals with meat for a decade, as she has no money. But if they raise rates further, I will have to skip on bread too. All of these people understand the whole seriousness of the matter. Bills for water, heating and electricity consume the biggest part of the pensions, while the rates keep growing throughout the year. The elderly don't know how to cope with reforms sought by the first deputy head of the ruling party, Baujan Baybek. They don't have internet and see no logic behind the increase. They just make it up as they go. Everything is done to benefit monopolists, and that's why ordinary people with higher education degrees will never get it. The rates are rising a couple of times per year, and all we hear is that it has to be done. That's it. We're never told where the money goes. Tatiana Petrichna may not know where the money went, but together with other active pensioners, she knows the heating rates table by heart. The woman says the consumers significantly overpay for the services, and monopolists simply use the passive attitude of the population. We've spoken to everyone we could, from financial police and anti-corruption agency to the Supreme Court and General Prosecutor's Office, but all of them are corrupted. If you put 2 and 2 together regarding what we pay and what we get, you'll see that we overpay by a multitude of 10. The new rates increase has directly affected the rising discontent of consumers. Now the communists are waiting for a reply to their inquiry submitted to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. They want to know whether anything will be done to improve the situation with the public utilities sector.
President Nazarbayev's ex-son-in-law Rahat Aliyev released a new book. As the portal Republic Godson-in-Law 2 Crime Scene Austria is available now in the West, namely in Austria as well as in Germany and Switzerland. This is a second edition written by the former relative of the President of Kazakhstan. The first book, Godson-in-Law, was published in 2009 and was banned for distribution in the country. Back then, prosecutors opened a criminal case for illegal violation of the secrecy of correspondence.
In his last outing, Rahat Aliyev focused mostly on the wealth of Nursultan Nazarbayev, his health condition and other intimate details of the president's life. The new book was published in German and targets mainly Austrian audience. As noted by Respublika, perhaps one of the most powerful trump cards in the book is the full text of the closed session held by the Austrian Special Parliamentary Committee investigating the influence of Kazakhstan secret services on Austrian politicians, police and press. The book also touches upon Nazarbayev's family, in particular his wife Sara, billionaire son-in-law Timur Kulibayev and socialite Goga Ashkenazi euthanasia. According to Aliyev, the idea to register 2 children as Kulibayevs was developed by a National Security Committee. It is possible that the new book will follow in the footsteps of Aliyev's first publication and will be banned in Kazakhstan as well.
ArcelorMittal is in the blacklist of insurance companies, stated the Alliance Police Company on Tuesday at a press conference in Karaganda. They confirmed to journalists that contracts with the industrial giant are terminated because of unfair competition and cooperation. Details up next.
Insurance company Alliance Policy is discontinuing insurance payments to the employees of ArcelorMittal Temirtau. The suspension is due to the financial dispute between the company and the industrial giant. After failing to reach a consensus, Alliance Policy called a press conference revealing that ArcelorMittal supplied the company with false information while drafting a new agreement. Indeed, it appears that we were given wrong numbers. The insurance contract was based on incorrect statistics on top of numerous violations of labor laws that were discovered later. Arcelor placed itself in a very comfortable position by shifting their responsibility to the insurer and turning employees against the third-party company. In total, 200 workers of ArcelorMittal Temirtau ended up penniless, all with health issues due to working conditions. Some of them haven't been paid insurance benefits for just a couple of months, while others since May of the last year. The production facilities of the company underwent a series of insurers' inspections, which revealed that ArcelorMittal cut the number of staff, thereby exposing the rest to great hazard and excessive workload. In addition, inspections revealed that high level of dust, pollution, noise and vibration were the main reasons behind the growth of occupational diseases. We learned that bronchitis, emphysema, hearing loss and sciatica are directly linked to these violations found at ArcelorMittal's production facilities. The insurer says that ArcelorMittal was notified about cancelling of payments on October 1st, 2012. In response, the steelmaker protested and turned to the Financial Supervision Commission. The regulatory body, however, found the actions of the Alliance Police justified. The agreement between the two companies was signed for 1 year. As per terms of this contract, the insurer must provide its coverage to listed employees for the rest of their lives. However, ArcelorMittal only paid enough for a couple of years in total. There are only a few companies in Kazakhstan that the insurers are reluctant to work with, said the participants at the press conference. Several years ago, many were fighting for a chance to represent ArcelorMittal, but the situation has changed drastically since then. Each year, the steel giant signs a new contract with the new insurance company, making it an undesirable client. As of right now, ArcelorMittal has yet to comment on the matter.
In Atara, a competition held by the national company Kaztrans caused a scandal. Representatives of dozens of Kazakhstani companies that have tried to take part in the competition did not have time to hand over the documents. Unsuccessful participants said that the organizers deliberately created obstacles for them, and the winner was supposedly known long before the contest. Details in this story.
Representatives from around 40 companies from all over Kazakhstan stormed the office of Kaztrans company in Atara 2 days ago. The standard procedure of document submission turned into chaos on the deadline date. I have the pass with your time on it. If you can't receive me within 30 minutes, I'm going to discard this application. That's correct. I can't receive everything within 30 minutes. As a result, most of the businessmen will not be able to take part in the contest. According to businessmen, tender organizers are to blame for that. For instance, half of the 15 days given for submitting the application were either weekends or public holidays. We believe that the rights of entrepreneurs have been violated, as well as the rights of the government to select the best supplier and save funds. This is a certain indication that a corruption element is involved. It is obvious that the contest organizers was deliberately dragging on the submission of documents. There is only one reason for that, making the contest less competitive. The matter is that not millions or tens of millions are involved in the tender. We're talking about hundreds of millions here. Some of the businessmen who were not admitted had to leave with nothing. Others decided to seek for justice. They met with representatives of Nuratan Party and prosecutor's office officials. We will carry on an investigation and dig up the tender documentation to ensure all of the rules were followed. If violations come to surface, we will immediately take all appropriate measures. Organizers of the tender management of Kazakstan's oil company do not see any violations in their actions. Organizers of the contest announce tender for works, services or supply of goods no less than 15 calendar days before the tender. The problem is that people rely solely on luck and put everything until the last day. If it is confirmed that the tender was held with violations, it will be ruled invalid. In that case, businessmen will have a new chance to compete for the order of the national company.
Students are offered to combine their own business with studies by the Atomic and Economic Chamber and university presidents, some of which are already trying to open schools to new jobs. The students' views on the subject are divided. Some believe that the quality of schooling will inevitably suffer, but there are enough supporters of the proposal among them. In the next report, we explore what it is like to work and study at the same time.
Representatives of the National Economic Chamber at Atomic say that students combining education with business activities have the best chance to gain early entrepreneur experience, generate personal income and subsequently become financially independent at young age. Every university has cafeterias and there's also enough space to open barbershops, currency exchange booths, mobile phone stalls, ATMs and so on. We can implement these projects together with students who can study while building simple types of businesses and gaining experience. They could also translate popular books and produce TV projects. Astana's Agro-Technical University was among the first to implement the initiative. Ayjan Balegenova runs a social stall there, selling students groceries at a discount price. Overall, Ayjan supports the initiative to involve students in businesses, but based on her personal experience, believes that studies should still be priority at school. I think that students should get into business only during the spare time and maybe work as assistants if it doesn't affect their studies. Otherwise, it is impossible to devote yourself to business completely and at once. Speaking of the matter, students themselves express conflicting opinions, but the majority are willing to work as long as it doesn't interfere with their curriculums. You can keep up. If you have set a goal and have free time, it is possible and quite achievable. I'd work if I had an opportunity. It all depends on time management. If you try hard, you can make it work. If a student manages his time well, then why not? However, if it will interfere with the studies, he will have to choose one of the two things. Third-year university student Ajar Bagambayeva has never tried to get a job, let alone start her own business. She believes that only a few can get working capital and finds the idea of opening a venue at her alma mater, even with joint funds, utopian. Ajar says that student entrepreneurs will always depend on their partners, the school's administration. Universities see cheap labor source in students. It is hard to imagine someone doing homework at a workplace, so it's likely to be a botched job, which will affect the quality of education. If you start working, you can say goodbye to library hours. In addition, students who are skeptical about the new idea believe that the current relationship between the faculty and student body is already considered a form of business. According to them, only 20% of all people in the school hold full state scholarships. The remaining 80% pay tuition out of their own pocket and thus basically invest in the development of national education. Therefore, the opponents of the initiative prefer to work for someone instead of owning a business in their place of studying.
A wife and a life on loan. Bankers are pleased to note the unprecedented growth of consumer credit in the country. Despite the global financial crisis, some people voluntarily enlist in the debtors column. A life on loan in our next and last story.
This happy occasion, the wedding was paid for by the money loaned from the bank. Talgat Targanov wanted to help his brother with the banquet and got into debt of over $6,000. Later, he lost his job and wasn't able to pay the money back on time. The bank, though, doesn't care and now harasses the man over phone. Talgat says he's really sorry. He believed the colorful ad promising fast and easy loans. I'm paying the bank about $240 monthly, but I'm unemployed for already 4 months. It is hard times, but they still call me and demand the money back, adding the surcharges. Who knew I'd come to this? It's the usual situation. No one has money, but we had to have this wedding somehow. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan is going through another wave of raised interest in consumer credits. This bank is happy to report that number of clients is constantly multiplying, significantly affecting profits. We are very serious when it comes to control during credit issue. We collect information through the First Credit Bureau with a mandatory SCPP review of all clients' earnings. The debt collector department is also top-notch. Psychologists say that neither people nor banks learn from their mistakes made during the last crisis. The aggressive advertising campaigns aimed at less than rich people are inescapable. But if anything happens, the government rushes to help the banks first. After all, they are supported by the people closely linked to the state machine. For 70 years, we lived in a Soviet system and never had to think about the future. The party did it for us, while we always followed its lead. We never questioned any decisions, which eventually led to grave responsibility that we see now. People take loans, but no one thinks how they will pay them back. Financially literate part of the population knows that living on tick is unacceptable for the majority of Kazakhstan's citizens. Still, the numbers produced by the National Bank speak of the opposite, as the fifth part of the loans taken since the beginning of 2013 consists exclusively of consumer credits.
That's all we have time for now. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.